Alrighty, Friday, March 8th, a quick session recap here, starting off with ES. We came into the session wanting to see how price was going to be trading versus that prior all-time high in the 51.58 area right through here. Right, we did have NFP this morning. You can see that key pivot holds following NFP. You get the push up through the prior pre-market high and overall giving a essentially a 40-point rip into about 10 a.m. or so, just after 10 a.m. marking the session high. Gotta love 10 a.m. reversal time. Let me take a look at the intraday chart here. So what was the actual high? 10:07. I call that close enough personally. But 10 a.m. reversal time effective again today. Sellers stepping in there. Once you start to see that session low really fail, we get the test of the prior structure clearly based on the action through here. There's some interested buyers, right? You have some interested buyers stepping in versus this prior all-time high, this kind of key near-term pivot here in the 51.58 down into 51.50 area, but ultimately sellers in control, at least for the session, and it resolves lower into our downside level of interest at 51.20, where you really start to see some buying activity. But look where price gets knocked down once again. So that 51.58, 51.50 area remains key. That was the prior all-time high. If you take a look at the structure, near-term action here, that was the high from Monday. So anytime price marks a high and then you get that significant move away from that pivot, obviously is going to be a significant level that you want to be keeping an eye on, right? We can kind of see, if I switch over to the 15-minute chart, again, how well that zone has been respected, not only yesterday, but for the duration of today as well. As far as what we're going to be looking at for Monday, we want to see if buyers are going to continue to defend today's low, which was that 51.20 level of interest, kind of a mid-range reference point here, right? If I zoom out, kind of get the best view on the hourly. Take a look at the structure here once this kind of corrects. So we did have that prior high from Friday, February 23rd at 51.20. So you can kind of see how the structure is panning out, right? You have a range. There's a breakout through here. Breakout fails. Price trades back into the prior range low. Get a push up, a retest of that near-term volume point of control. This was yesterday. There's your trend day, breaks the prior high. Now we're kind of back into that 51.20 area. And so this is typical of a bull market, right? Price continue to press all-time highs, but you're not really getting those sustained trend day moves when price actually does make that fresh all-time high. You'll kind of get a push into an upper reference point, maybe an upper level of interest, and then a pull back into the range, maybe a pull back into the prior breakout point, which is kind of what we saw today. If it fails to hold, you can expect price to trade back within the near-term range down into whatever your downside reference points are. In this case, 51.20. Sometimes it's going to be that near-term volume point of control like we saw in NQ. I'll jump into that in a second. The important part about understanding this structure and how the structure kind of unfolds is that, you know, a bullish market regime can kind of condition you to buying areas of support, which is good, right? But once that structure in the near term actually fails, like when we see the session low fail, when we start to see this 51.58 fail, you want to be more cautious. Definitely want to be more cautious when you have cascading red bars like this and you're trying to grab support. What I always say is you definitely need at least some type of 15 or 30 minute signal bar. You want to see buyers stepping in with sustained activity, and that's going to show up on the higher time frame charts. So once you start to see that primary structure start to crack, like look at this. We've got a low right here, a higher low right here, right? Once the prior session low fails later in the afternoon, if you're still trading at this point in the day, you do not want to be trying longs. Once this 15-minute hammer is established, that's a good clue. All right, maybe we'll get some buying activity here, but remember the confirmation on something like this is a move up through that prior candle high. Prior candle high is always going to give you a good clue. So look at that closed candle, and now how is price trading versus that closed candle. So if we're not breaking the high of that hammer in the key zone, well, you have no confirmation that buyers are really stepping in on the higher time frame. Got a good clue with that hammer forming and closing like that, but ideally, if you're thinking about trying to grab the low, you want some type of confirmation. Otherwise, the alternative is you continue to try through here. Maybe you get some scalps off, but most likely you're just going to end up taking a number of stops, right? And I've been there hundreds of times, which is why I bring that up repeatedly. Just want to wait for the easier play. On NQ, let's take a look here. Oh, quick note on ES and NQ, we do have the roll next week, so I'll be switching over to the June contract, currently looking at the March contract. So the levels we're talking about currently are going to change effective on Monday. If we take a look at the ES June contract right now, the low was 51.85, right? So the levels are definitely going to change, but as far as the structure will remain the same, okay? Just so everyone is aware. On NQ, what we're looking at today, this was quite interesting. So NQ, the setup was a bit different here, right? We had price trading up into, actually this is the wrong chart. Let me get into the March contract here. So we had price trading up into that prior high from March 4th. Now, this is different compared to ES because ES had already triggered the breakout during yesterday's session. NQ did not, right? No breakout on NQ. So coming into today, what we wanted to see was whether buyers could force that daily breakout. You get the blip above, and then it quickly fails. So this is a failed breakout. There is that old market adage, from failed moves comes fast moves in the opposite direction. So if you see a breakout failing, especially on NQ, which is characteristic for momentum, right? You want to be real cautious with trying to fade this directional move lower. So the way I'll personally approach this is once this area, this 18,380 fails, right? Again, seeing that 15-minute hammer there, no follow through. So we know that prior break point is not holding us support. Once that actually fails, the last thing on your mind should be buying support until you start to see like a 30-minute candle really develop that shows, buyers are stepping in. So you either want to be shorting with this directional move because the structure is failing, or if you're only looking for longs, just leave it alone, right? Just sit on your hands, let that continue to develop until some of the lower levels of interest are tested with higher time frame confirmation. This is how you stay out of trouble and avoid catching a falling knife, which plagues a lot of traders. All right. So just kind of an aside there, little tip on avoiding fighting some of those trend moves lower. The same goes for upside. You see a move like yesterday, you're wanting to get short. You need some type of signal with a level on the higher time frames before you can really get involved there. Now, as far as NQ, what we're going to be looking for on Monday, once this breakout failed, price trades pretty swiftly down into the near-term volume point of control. So we know all the volume has been done here over the past 2 to 3 weeks. This 18K level is going to be a main level of interest for Monday. That's just today's low. Very similar to what we're going to be looking at in ES. Now, again, the levels will be different because we'll be looking at that June contract, but from a structural standpoint, it's going to be the same, looking at how price trades versus today's low. So that's the index. Overall, some pretty good action today. Something for everyone, definitely good two-way trading. That's what we like to see. As far as individual names, we do have a pretty short list. I'm looking at Apple. There's a daily time frame reversal here. Apple held well versus the broader index today. key support right through here. So looking for that daily reversal potentially on Monday. That could also be a swing watch. We have DocuSign. So the idea I was looking for today in DocuSign did not pan out, but we could treat this as a second day play, leaning on today's afternoon base. So I'll be looking at the action versus 56 on Monday, and then we have SQ. This is a potential weekly time frame breakout. So take a look at the weekly chart here. It's a big accumulation base. So for a day trade, we'll be looking for strength up through 82. See if that one can trigger the breakout play. That's it for individual names. We're coming into slow season here for individual names. So outside of earnings season, you're going to be looking at a lot of technical setups, and those are more prone to failure if they don't have volume behind them. So volume is going to be more important. We're going to have fewer stocks in play, just FYI. More and more index plays. As far as the index, on Monday, looking at today's low as the primary watch. Hope everyone had a great sesh, great week. Get that weekly review done. Get that daily review done. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to shoot me a direct message this weekend in the Traders Think Tank if I could help you with anything. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. Later.